Friends, happy Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. I'm in San Francisco. In fact, I'm at the Adobe office here. Izzy, you're in Canada. It's nice to see your face. How the heck are you?
I'm good. It's always my favorite time of the day when I get to spend time with you, Phil.
Are you just saying that to put me in a good mood so that you can crush me today in the collab battle? Is that what you're doing? Is that your tactic?
That might be a strategy indeed.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I know. We act like we're all these, we're tough, and then you and I get creating and then we help each other out. We're not proud of it. It's supposed to be a tough battle, but that's what happens. I want to say hi to our friends in the chat. I'm so happy you're here today, either live with us or watching the replay. Today, we're talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about and excited about, creating a media kit as well as a speaker one sheet. Friends, I'm going to hop over to my computer screen so you can see here exactly what we're working with. We've created not one, but two templates. These are linked in the description. So the first one is a template for a media kit. I know so many people, they're like, Phil, I know I need a media kit. I am a creator. I am a graphic designer. Maybe you've started thinking about doing sponsored content in addition to whatever your job or occupation is. This template is designed to help you get started. Very much it's a starting point, okay? And it's a template in Express we love so that it's not a roadblock for you to actually get started with this. And I'm going to show you an example. I may come back to this example a few times today as we work, Izzy, on your media kit. That's going to be our
Mhm.
focus today. Collab battling. But this is an example of my client, Julie Bauer Roth. She's a lifestyle creator. And for the longest time, she also didn't have a media kit, but this has become significant in her business. The idea that brands are willing to get, behind you, willing to pay you money to make recommendations. And so this is an example of the kinds of things that you can create from the template that we are providing you today. Now, we talked about the media kit. I want to give you one more example. Related to this is creating a speaker one sheet. So if you are, again, your job could be anything, but if you're getting requests to speak at conferences, in person or virtual, it's a very good idea to have everything laid out on one page, a bio, testimonials, topics that you can speak on, and obviously your contact information. So if we have time today, our focus is going to be the media kit for you. If we have time today, we're going to work on a speaker one sheet for me. And again, I have an example of that. You can see this template in action for our sweet friend, Teresa Au. She
Mhm.
works here at Adobe. She's a keynote speaker. She's also the host of the podcast In the Making. Highly recommend. Season 2 is back and it is good. So friends, that lays down, that's the groundwork of what we're working on today. Izzy, should we switch over to your screen and get designing as we do?
Yes. So I wanted to start today's session basically in Illustrator. And I know that this is not our typical, oh, we're seeing my cat in the background. I hope you won't like disturb anyone too much.
This
Or
is a cat safe space. Don't you worry. He's a part of this too. Very
he is
important.
part of it. He is my coworker.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but yes, this is not our typical like software that we design in. We usually do everything in Adobe Express, but I know that you can bring in Illustrator and Photoshop files into Express. And I wanted to
You
start
can.
there because as a designer, I am way more versatile and I design faster in Illustrator. And I did this template quickly last night. I just put all my cards on the table, didn't I, right now? And basically, I followed your template, Phil, in like what content should go where. And like I wanted to just have something a little different. Now, this is not following my brand per se, but I kind of liked how interactive the content was distributed. And I also added this page here, which I don't know if we'll have time to maybe touch on, but since you can have media in Adobe Express, I just put this as a placeholder to add a video, specifically
Love
if
it.
your goal is to go and like go on public speaking engagements and you have a video of yourself. It could be a speaker reel that you make in your living room, or if you have stage experience, this is a really great place to add it in.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
So we have this here. Now, I did make this a little challenging in order to bring this into Express because I did some fancy Illustrator stuff in here that doesn't necessarily mesh with Adobe Express yet. For instance, I'll show you an example. This here, I have a multiplied image. So this is not a purple texture. It's actually rainbow colored, but I have multiplied it with a specific color. And that did not work. So I would remove this before importing it into Adobe Express. So, and I had to also split all of these into actually one sheet like so and remove all of the photos because the photos were making my files a little too to upload in
Yep,
Express.
that makes sense.
But that's okay because then what I could do is I have the shape and I know where everything goes. So when I uploaded it, it was then really easy for me to, and I'm going to show you here. I
Looks
hate when
good.
it
It's a
does this.
really beautiful design. Cassandra in the chat agrees. There's it's in while you're doing this,
There
Izzy,
you
I think
go.
it's so interesting how Adobe Express becomes a hub for two different types of people. Um, People that maybe are not quite as comfortable in some of the other Creative Cloud apps, Illustrator, Photoshop. I know some people that, know the basics or even intermediate level, but now they're actually replacing some of those workflows in Express, cropping a photo, converting an image or video file type. But then we also have creative pros, which I would say that's what you are. You're creative and you're a pro, honey. Um, but it's
Thank
super
you.
cool to see how you're establishing your workflow in Illustrator, which you're probably more used to over the years. And now subbing in some of those things or doing some of those things in Express, maybe even before you go to Illustrator or Photoshop to do them.
Well, specifically for this here, right? Like if we look at like those circles and with the text here, it was just a lot easier for me to create that like within, I'd say this page took me like what, 5 minutes, not even. It would probably take me 10 minutes in Express just because again, I'm so adverse in Illustrator. But here, as you can see, when I uploaded my template, it was just that shape. And then I was able to just import the with the photo here with the upload, right? And then crop it with that crop. So
Very
the
nice.
the other thing I have to say, when you do download something, if I actually go here and I want to upload it, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show you what it does is it also uploads one at a time and it creates separate files. So I had to see whenever you do this, then you do
Yep.
edit AI file in the new file, AI meaning Illustrator. That's going to be a confusing for confusing term. And see, that was super quick. And then see everything is there. That's what I meant by having the shape here. But it does, like I cannot add all the same pages under that same document. So what I
Got it.
did, I made sure to unlock everything, just select everything, copy it, and then go back to where I wanted to have my template here, adding a new page like so, and just pasting, which it will do because it's just thinking right now. I can hear my fan going.
Yeah, it's nervous because it knows it's on camera, it's on stage. It gets
Exactly. Let me
nervous.
go back.
It's so thanks for that explanation, Izzy. There was a question in the chat. Why wouldn't you do something like this in Canva or could be any other, browser-based graphic design tool? To which Wade had a really good point in response. One of the many things that makes Express great is that it integrates so beautifully with some of the apps that you're already using and loving. So Photoshop and Illustrator are great examples of that. Keep in mind that when you're importing a PDF into Express, generally it imports with high fidelity, but there might be a few instances where a certain texture or shape that you're importing may not convert perfectly. There'll be some instances of that, I think, today, as you pointed that out. For example, if it's a shape, It may not import as a shape, in which case I might substitute it with an actual circle or rectangle from one of the shapes in Express. And that way you've got control over the sizing and even the changing of colors, outlines, those kinds of things. So there are some instances where, yes, I'll sub in elements that I've imported in Express.
So see here, I just recreated that design very quickly by uploading the
Beautiful.
picture, and then we have it there. So do you think we can start my media kit from this template, Phil? Do you feel
I
confident?
think I think we can start your media kit from this template. I am
Okay.
100% confident that we can do it. Now, can I treat you like I would a client and ask you a few questions?
Yes.
You like that?
Yes. I
Okay. I
love
know it's like
it.
a little bit of role play here because it is important to set some goals before we start putting what I would call pen to paper, right? So the first question that I would ask you, Izzy, is what is your goal of having a media kit? What types of opportunities do you want it to bring as a result of having one?
So right now I'm currently going through a rebrand, which I have not shared yet on Adobe because it's very much in the works, but I am transitioning from a studio name to a personal brand.
Love
And
to hear it.
it's just the way how my career was going. It just made more sense. And I actually want to book more public speaking gig. So this is
Perfect.
a goal of mine.
Perfect. A media kit is a perfect example of that. You might even start with the media kit building out in detail, which we'll dabble with today, but you can also then condense this into a single page later on with that second template that we're giving our live and replay viewers today. So remember, friends, we have a template linked in the description below. And that's going to help you get started with creating this. Creating it from scratch is kind of overwhelming. And it might be one of those things that you have on your to-do list. And you're like, yeah, that can wait until tomorrow. Yeah, maybe that can wait until next week. But the exciting thing is that by having something like this, it's going to help make the case that you're someone that is worthy of collaborating with, be it a speaking engagement, for me, sponsored content deals. That's like, Izzy, that's an income stream that didn't even exist for me 4 years ago. Now it makes up more than 50% of my income is brand
That's
deals. So
crazy.
isn't that crazy? Working with brands, it's not just tech brands, but also in software, which I review
That
on YouTube. It's also just like, it's things, products that I touch. I always think about from the moment I wake up in the morning, what products do I touch? Toothpaste. No, I haven't done a toothpaste brand deal, but you get the idea. You want to be aware that brands are willing to invest in real people that, especially that are able to make content. And if you think of it, it's kind of the future. And so what we're doing today really positions you for those opportunities.
So here, when we're talking, like I've seen on your media kits and the examples that you have shared with us, like there is kind of like a sentence that describes the person. So, uh, this is something I struggle with, and I'd love to have your input because I see a lot of people with multiple titles, and we're also told to niche down, but that's very hard when you're trying to book speaking gig because you can speak on multiple subjects that you're adversed in. So, what would you suggest for this?
So we probably won't have time to actually demo it today, but one of the things that I love to do, by the way, Izzy, I think I'm not shared on this version that you're working on. I think I'm shared on the other template. I don't know if you have a chance to just
Oh,
throw me
you
it.
are absolutely right. So
That's okay.
here,
Just pop my email into the shared and we can showcase the sharing features in Adobe Express, which
there you
actually
go.
are legitimately very cool. I don't even know that we've talked about this. So since we're doing it, that's an instance where you can pop my email address, which invites me as a collaborator. If I wasn't behaving, Izzy, and you wanted me to only have commenting and not the ability to mess up anything in the design, then you could add me for commenting only. But the other cool thing, which we've done with our remixable templates today that we've shared in the description below, Media Kit and Speaker One Sheet, that allows you to start from a template and create your own file. So all of that is possible in Express, in addition to the ability to actually have a full conversation in these docs. Let's say we weren't collab battling and we were looking at this document at different times, Izzy, you and I could tag each other in the comments and have a full conversation, say approvals, without even having to leave Express to facilitate that. It's very cool.
I love this. So I have just
This is
invited you.
looking really good.
I'm so sorry,
Perfect.
Phil. I have duplicated the template because I'm like, oh, it's so nice. I don't want to touch it. And I totally forgot you were invited on the other one. I am so sorry about this.
Here's the good news. Express.
You're here.
I'm here, baby. I'm already here. You'll see my cursor whizzing around.
Love it. Perfect.
Love this photo. Love this photo to kick things off.
Thank you. Now I'm rethinking this like texture because it doesn't feel like me. So maybe I can go to
design elements, maybe?
Yes.
Or backgrounds?
Background.
And while you're looking through there, you were asking me about a sentence. Was it for this title page?
Yes, like community builder, brand architect, all that. Because like, again, I feel like you can get lost into the weeds with multiple titles. And it's like, well, what do you do? Right?
Yep. It used to be, while you're here looking for a background, let me just say this. This is an instance where you could use an AI tool, a text generation tool as a brainstorm partner. So it used to be that I would ask everyone around me, these are the job titles that I have. How might you recommend I sum up this in a sentence? And then I could see, Izzy, maybe later on you have an icon for each job title that explains what you do within that title. Ooh, that's looking really good.
Thank you.
So the other thing that I can recommend to you if you're using popular AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those are some others. Tell ChatGPT before you ask it for something, ask it to ask you 3 questions that you can answer to give it information to give you a better output. I do that every single day. So can I give you an example, Izzy? Here are the job titles I use on the front page of my media kit. I'd like to change this to a sentence, more of a power statement that represents my perspective. Ask me 3 questions so that I can give you information to be able to write a great sentence. And I'm just, you guys, I'm just like reading it out loud, like basically what I would type into ChatGPT. You don't have to copy me. It's just kind of showing you that's how I would phrase it and ask it. And that's a really good starting point.
Okay. I like that.
I'm an AI nerd, if you haven't noticed.
No, I love that. I'm an AI nerd as well. I'm in AI pretty much like 50% of my day now at this point.
Yes. This is looking great.
So here I don't have a logo because I'm in the process of rebranding. Like I was not kidding when I said I'm in the thick of it. So can we just fake that this is a logo? Oops, I actually want this whole thing to be.
We can. Should we actually talk about that for a second? Because I think it's another instance where it stops people in their tracks, or they say, I can't create my media kit yet. I don't have a logo. Friends, you don't need a logo for a great media kit. In fact, you don't need a logo, period. And that might upset some graphic designers. I own a branding agency that designs logos. The truth is, particularly for people that are just getting started, or let's say you're in flux, you're between brands, this is so pretty, Izzy. This is looking really, really good. In Adobe Express, it is so easy to just put your name in a great font, which is exactly what you've done. Izzy Poirier, you have 3 Z's in your name?
Oh no, that's a typo. See?
Oh, I was like, did I just learn something new about you? Have I been typing your name wrong all these months that we've been hosting together? My God, I panicked for a second.
No, you're good.
This is a perfect example. I love how you're customizing this for you. This is a perfect example of how you can, instead of being stressed about not having a logo, there's 2 places you could go. We won't demo it now because I don't want to mess up Izzy in the middle of her design process. But friends, from the homepage of Express, you can click that purple plus sign and then navigate to quick actions. Now there is a logo maker in beta that enables you to create your own logo in 4 simple steps. Again, we're not demoing it right now because I don't want to take us too off track, but I'm telling you where it is. It's a quick action in Express. You can get there by going from the homepage. Or if you're like, making a logo right now is too much work, do exactly what we've done on Izzy's Media Kit here and put your
Yeah.
name in a great font. Express has an integration with Adobe fonts. So you literally have the best font library on the internet at your fingertips. Look how amazing this looks already, Izzy. And you don't even have a logo. You don't need a logo. You don't need one.
I will have one, but I don't need
Yeah, of
this
course
for
you will.
like this. Yeah, I don't need
No,
this for now because the people who are going to book you specifically for speaking gig, they don't necessarily care about the logo on the front page. They
that's
care
right.
about the accolades, right? They care about who you have worked with, maybe later on as a proof of what's the word again I'm looking for?
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept, or
Yeah.
yeah, proof of concept. There you go. Okay. This. I think sorry, I'm just going to go back here and
Megan
just,
says, good question. I see Megan in the chat. And by the way, Megan, your brand is going to be used on our next collab battle. We're going to be talking about presentations. Since Izzy and I did our last collab battle about presentations, that was several months ago. Express now has presentations built into it. Very exciting. And Megan, I'm showcasing one of your recent new spiffy slide decks. Izzy, I love this page. What are we looking at?
so I think this could be the bio page, and is it in the right order? This is also something I wanted to ask you because we can easily change the order of this deck within Adobe Express.
I think you can be aware of the order, but it's not something you should fuss about in this stage. That's probably
Okay.
something that you can check at the very end when you're trying to figure out how you want to be able to export it or share it. Um, yeah, I would say probably don't worry too much about that. You definitely want to early on, yes, you want to tell people who you are, why they should care. Those are the questions you want to answer on like an about page. You also want to give people a reason to hire you instead of someone else. And maybe, Izzy, while you're customizing this design, I can give a few examples from my client.
Sure. Absolutely.
So on the second page of her media kit, sorry, third page of her media kit, she says, let's team up. Here's what I stand for. And she was on to explain. My food blog started to help people find paleo-friendly recipes. Now it's a lifestyle brand that explores food, fashion, fitness, and fun. I want to help my community embrace life's transition with curiosity and confidence. I only partner with brands I genuinely believe in, whether it makes life easier and more enjoyable. My approach to health is all about my consistency and self-love. It's been a constant, or I've been constant at the gym for over a decade. The text is small, so I'm not doing a great job of reading it. But friends, I want you to extract some of the ideas there when you're saying, here's why you should work with me. My approach is this. I partner with other brands who I want to help, right? Who are you? Why should people care? At a high level, what are things that you've accomplished? And are those things that will contribute to my thought process of, wow, this person is perfect to partner with? You want to serve that up to them on a platter. What you doing
So
over there, Izzy? You're very quiet.
oh, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm like very much into this design. So this is what happens when I'm working on. It's like
I know, but
pull it out of me.
I know. Adobe Live, we have to like, it's a certain chops that you have to learn, right? It's like we're creating, but then we also have to talk about what we're creating, which by nature, that's not really something we do. But we learn it.
No, sometimes
Easier when there's two of us.
absolutely. Sometimes you can catch me actually just narrating what I'm doing out loud in my office without me being live because
You
I'm
learned that from Adobe Live. I know it.
absolutely. So here, maybe I can just put some lorem ipsum for now or I can just keep this as a fake bio because
Yep.
I don't have a bio or a paragraph that's selling me in that sense. So I will definitely have to watch this replay again to capture all of that knowledge and then add it into this kit. How do you like this photo of us at not us, but us being the Adobe family from San Francisco, actually?
I love that photo of
Perfect.
our very familiar faces at Adobe Live. I love that photo. I'm going to add in some lorem ipsum for you. I just went to a free lorem ipsum generator
Amazing.
online, and I will help you out, even though we're battling. You want that second paragraph loremed?
Yes, please. So I'm seeing here a comment from Keys saying, Izzy, I think that pic needs a bit of color correction. Your face is too green. Indeed, because this was taken in the green room when we do a live streaming. So you can see that being reflected onto my face. But I kind of like that it's like this because it's something I would mention in the description that I went to San Francisco and like, again, accolades and proof of concept that I can be a public speaker, quote unquote, or live streamer.
Yeah, sure. Blame the wall color. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. You could also, if you wanted, we don't have to do this now, but Izzy, since you've got a whole backlog of previous Adobe Live shows, or let's say you've got
Mm,
previous speaking engagements, those are things you could easily screenshot and add into your media kit in Express. I also, this feels like a good time to recommend to people. Your media kit doesn't have to have like picture perfect photography start to finish. It is nice if you have some of those really beautiful brand elements, much like you saw that profile photo that Izzy has on the first page. Yes, you definitely want to have some high quality photography, but also feel free to add in real stuff too, screenshots of you speaking, cell phone photos of you on stage. All of that is acceptable in a media kit because we get to see that range, that dynamic range of what you do, who you've worked with previously, what we can expect from you if we hire you. I'm really putting my brand strategist hat on today, Izzy. Normally I'm like in
I
here
love
designing with
this.
you, but I'm like taking control today. I'm like, here's what you need to do and why.
You're like the creative director of my career right now, which I absolutely adore.
For 1 hour. Yes.
I'll take that. Like it's, I mean, if I get to work with you in that way, this is amazing. This is actually a photo of me on stage at an Ottawa Design Club event, where,
Beautiful.
and I love that everyone is cheering because at the beginning we always do a cheers together before we start the event. So I think I'm gonna put that at the top here and just rejig a little bit of those
It's also a
text
nice
box
dark photo. So if you wanted, you could leave that headline text like up there over
on
top of it,
top.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't
Yes.
know. We'll try it out. I love
like
that.
like that.
Yeah, that
Okay,
looks
hold
really
on.
cool.
Let's just change a few things. So here, if I again go according to your template, it was there was stats, or just like some again proof of just like previous work or like stuff that you have done here. And I actually put all of your content from one of your templates that you have shared with us and put it into AI. And I said, make me a fake profile based on
I love
this.
it. I love it.
So
Because even if it's placeholder now, you can always come back to it later and add in the real stats. We do that all the time for projects.
there you go. I was also a little taken by what's the word that I'm looking for? Like because the profiles that you have shared with us, they have massive following and massive like percentage of like work that they have done, return of customers and all that. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I don't have this. So what would you recommend for someone like me who is starting, who doesn't have like those high numbers?
I have a term for this: strategic distraction. And it's something I've talked about for years, not just in the context of a media kit or a speaker kit or a speaker one sheet, but in the context of business, friends. Let's say you're in Adobe Express and you're creating your logo, your business cards, the very first instances of proof of concept for your business, you may not even have had a client. You might be entering the workforce with only portfolio projects from school or self-taught projects that you've created. And so we call this strategic distraction. We shouldn't focus on the things you don't have. Instead, focus on the things you do have. And let me give an example. The process in which you work with a client or with someone, it could be a 5-step process. 1, start with discovery. 2, ideation. 3, creative workflow, whatever, right? I'm making this up, but that's always focus on the things that you can control. Izzy, if this helps, when I reply to a brand that wants to work together, I'll tell them, as much as I'd love to guarantee virality, I can't guarantee that a video that we create is going to go viral. But here's what I can promise. I can promise that I'll send you a high quality 4K video that explains your platform well and puts it in a good light. Or else, if I don't like the platform, I won't take on the brand. Or if I don't like the product, right? So focus on the things you can control and really highlight those in your media kit. Could be a process, could be your perspective on creativity. What are the things you can control? You know that you can stand on stage and get people excited and motivated to be creative in their everyday work. That's just an example. Another thing, Izzy, that you might not even think about, but you can guarantee a beautiful presentation, a beautifully designed experience, start to finish. Our Collabattle friends will know that from all the designs that you've created on our shows. Everything always looks amazing. You're a great designer. So play up these things that you can control. And strategic distraction is what I call it. Don't focus on the things you can't control.
I love
How's
this.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh my goodness. Yes. It's like we can end the show. Thank you, Phil. That was that was the best. Made me feel good. So I'm having a hard time here copying this shape for some reason. There you go. That's what I want. And I want to bring
Want to say hi to Raphael in the chat.
We have
Clever Devlin in the house.
Yes.
We have designer Siraj. We got a whole crew here today, friends.
Clever Devlin just said something very funny when talking about distractions. Like, look over there, a monkey. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Strategic distraction. Look over there, monkey. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is looking awesome. Don't you love, Izzy, how you are in Adobe Express right now without necessarily a concrete plan of exactly what it is you're trying to create, but you're using shapes, you're using design elements, you're using existing assets that you brought in, like photos of you from the stage, and just kind of tweaking and playing as you go. It's so cool.
Yes, I love this. And again, I love that it's just taking shape as I'm putting stuff together. And even though I don't like, this is not my content, like I can easily see with your guidance how I can add this content to with the use of ChatGPT, because I'm not the best writer. I actually want to show you something here. And this is like something that I see often when in designs is small little words like this. Like if it feels like it's just kind of hanging out there by itself.
Yeah.
I'll just do a return. So just balance a little better.
I do that too.
It's like a bit of typesetting.
Yep, I do that too.
Like this.
Maybe too much, maybe to a fault. I spend my time doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, it bothers me so much.
Oops. But it's a good thing, because then it just looks a little cleaner. Like when I opened it up now, it's like if it felt off. But yes, typesetting is your best friend, everyone, specifically for this, because you're probably sending this to people who doesn't know you, right? You're trying to make an impression, and this may come as a shock to you, but you only have one first impression.
Yep.
So you want to make it count. Now, this defeats a little bit of what you were trying to say, to like not stress about it. And I just made everyone stress about it.
It's a balance.
It is a balance.
This is a perfect example of what I was talking about. strategic distraction. Here's what I stand for. This is like, we're not focused on, the page doesn't say, I've never had a client before, or I've never had a speaking engagement before. You're not going to say that, but you're going to say, here's what I stand for. Here's what you can expect from my presentation. These are the kinds of things that you can control. And so play those up in your media kit and in your speaker one sheet.
Here we'll even emphasize it with this shape here, which is very hard to play around with because the line is so thin. There you go.
It looks awesome. I am so excited that you're actually going to have a media kit by the time we finish today. Sometimes you and I are doing things for demo purposes, but it's always even a little more fun when we're actually creating things that we need or will use.
Absolutely. So here I'm just going back just to fetch elements to bring to this here. So some stats. So see here, this is where I get nervous because I don't have a gazillion followers and like I was mentioning earlier. But maybe this is a good call to action. Please follow me on Instagram, everyone.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
And
Can I challenge that
please.
thought? There are many brands that want to work with smaller creators or micro influencers instead of working with big creators. Just because someone has big followers doesn't necessarily mean that they have big engagement or high conversion. So nowadays, it's actually more common to find a brand that would rather work with a handful of smaller creators than work, for the same price tag as a big creator. So remember that it's actually to your advantage in many cases to have a smaller, more loyal following.
That is really good to know.
And by the way, I remind myself of that all the time because I see other creators, particularly on YouTube, which is a priority platform of mine. Right. I see the brands that I work with doing campaigns with other people that have like 1 million subscribers. I have 60,000. I've been working hard to grow it. Truth is, a lot of these brands do not care. And they do not care because there's so much value that I can deliver them in what I can control, right? The video that I can make, the presentation that I can give, the presentation you can give, Izzy, with this fancy new media kit.
There you go.
This is looking so good. That's one of my favorite pictures of you. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Thank you. I actually made this whole background for that photo shoot. So these are all individual posters. And it was actually inspired by Angela Freya, who has actually been a few times on Adobe Live. So I love how this circle keeps just giving on Adobe Live, which is awesome. Okay. So here, again, maybe I should have had a color, like a color library for this, but I just went with it. So
yeah. For someone who's not as comfortable
later.
just going with it, a recommendation would be to get set up in the brands tab. You can create your color scheme or your color palette. Now in the brands tab, you can upload individual color swatches as well as create a full palette, which is really awesome. It's just nice to have those options.
Just going to ungroup this here, change the color of, I love the color picker here.
It's really handy.
Like that easy that was. So see here, this was for a blog, right? So what would you recommend maybe adding as content here if we were to brainstorm that together?
So if I were you, I would think about what are the most impressive stats that I could share with someone that illustrates the reach, the engagement, or even the ability to convince someone else. Like, so my thought goes to, we've had a few streams of Collabattle that have gone on to perform very well. That seems like a stat that you could associate with yourself. Izzy, so you could say, several streams over 1 million views or over 100,000 views. That audience that you were presenting to at the Ottawa Design Club, that looked like it was at least 500 people. So you could even do a rough estimate of like, delivered presentations for over 10,000 audience members. Do you see what I'm saying? We're playing
Mm-hmm.
up. We're playing up. We're not exaggerating. We're just rounding up in some cases to be able to present compelling stats to someone that's thinking about you. That's all it is. You don't want to make things up, but you do want to really focus on any of those impressive stats that illustrate to someone you are, in fact, good at what you're trying to do.
Actually, this is crazy because if we're talking about views, I know for a fact that this is way more than this because my
Yes.
first ever Adobe Live, first one ever, reached over 1,000K views in a year, which I was so happy because my goal was just to get 10. And it's not my audience. I know this is very much like the Adobe Live audience, which I'm eternally grateful for because I think
Same.
it is that live that brought me back to do more engagements. So here I'll pump it up to maybe 3. Will
Look
make
at
everything
you,
like,
how the
yes,
tables have turned.
there you
Just
go.
less than 5 minutes ago, you were doubting yourself, and now we got you all pumped up. I'll take credit for some of that as your number one cheerleader. Also,
Yes.
Winter in the chat says, I literally have 100 followers. Thank you so much for saying that. Not having large followers always stops me. Winter and friends that are engaged in this presentation live or watching the replay, times have changed, my friends. It is not necessary for you to have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. It's necessary for you to be good at your work. It's necessary for you to be a good salesperson in terms of how you present yourself. And I like to think that the templates that we've given you today to at least start with a media kit and a speaker one sheet will help you get there. Friends, there are incredibly gifted and famous public speakers that don't even have social media. Okay. Like there are many, I've had many clients over the years, websites that I've done for professional and keynote speakers aren't even active on social media, couldn't be interested, couldn't be less interested. Um, and so don't, yeah, it's hard, but try not to be overwhelmed or intimidated by what you see around you. We want to really focus on the things that make you great. So, Winter, one of the questions that I would often ask others. You can self-reflect on it, but it's better to do a little bit of market research, I like to call it in this case. Ask 5 people around you, what am I good at? Or, when you think of me, what do you think about? These types of just simple questions. Or what's your favorite quality or, of mine? When you start to ask people, it's vulnerable to start to collect this information, but you'll be amazed at some of the answers that you get that pop up more than once. And those are the kind, people's experience of you. Those are the things that we want to incorporate in something like a media kit, because the person who's reading this, in many cases, hasn't had a chance yet to experience you. And so we need to communicate that right away. Sorry. Thanks for coming to my second TED Talk, Izzy and friends. I
Drop that
warned you at the
mic.
top. I warned you at the top that this is like a huge passion topic of mine. Just this idea of like putting yourself out there and starting to do brand deals or starting to do brand partnerships or starting to do public speaking. I'm passionate about this because it's changed my life. And I want other people to experience that as well. Look at this, sold out events. This is
Yeah.
perfect. Zine publications. These are the perfect stats, Izzy. Perfect stats, perfect stats.
Great. It shows that you're very passionate. So I'd say for everyone who is watching live, I would take massive advantage of this opportunity because I know I can't pay Phil's hourly wage to have this type of information. So this is a massive treat. You have no idea how happy I am and how blessed and lucky I feel right now to
Oh,
have
honey,
this.
I'm a professional cheerleader. That's my job.
Oh my
You can tell I
gosh.
like my job. I really do love my job. It's like pretty amazing to get to pump people up, you know?
This
This is a
should
perfect example
go
of that.
This should go on your title page too for your media
Yes.
kit, like personal
Professional
cheerleader. Yes.
cheerleader, but it's not what you think. Yeah. I don't have the muscles or the abs to be a real professional. So I do have the
Okay.
optimism and the positivity. Those are actually, I'm posting on Instagram today about that. That's like one of my competitive advantages or strengths is optimism. I always find the silver
That is,
lining in
yeah,
things.
so true. Hold on, I'm going to copy this again. I'm going to skip this just for now, the video one, because I feel that if I were to try to bring a video in right now, my computer would crash. So, because I could just hear the fan going. But if we can, at the end, maybe we'll come back.
Yeah, sounds good. Raphael had a really good tip when we were on that analytics page. He said, as tips for metrics, a good thing to do is go to Google Analytics to have some data. Good point, Raphael. I didn't mention that, but I should have. Almost when you think and self-reflect on where can I gather numbers from around me, Google Analytics is a great one. If you're active on Instagram or YouTube, go to those analytics platforms on those social networks, right? Think about where can you grab numbers and make a strong case for yourself.
Just
Okay.
going back again to grab
You're almost
this.
done.
I'm almost done. It's crazy. Like that went by so fast. I mean, I would have to spend more time into just refining the actual writing piece and the content, but design wise. And you know what? This template, I feel like I'll add to the description so you can also download this template. So you'll not have two templates, you'll have three templates to work from. So you'll have a lot of variety for design. So
But
here you
wait,
go.
there's more. There's another template. Izzy's getting wild, just adding templates to our description. I love it.
There you go. I'm just again going to fetch some assets here.
And whenever you wrap this up, Izzy, I can share my screen and I'll probably
Oh,
I'm not gonna,
actually,
you tell me
go
when
if
you
you
want to.
we
You
can. I
tell me
mean
when you
this.
want to. We still have a few minutes.
Okay. So
I would say
because
get this to the point where you're really happy with it.
okay.
And then I'll point out a few things on the speaker one sheet, just so our friends hanging out with us are feeling equipped to tackle their own.
This one is so tough to. There you go.
Looking good, looking good. I love those little ovals. And for
Me too.
those,
They
you've
yeah.
left the fill empty, but you've kept the outline colored. And I think it's 1 pixel.
Yes, and actually, if we go back to this here, it would be this. So it's basically just an ellipse that I've collapsed, and it's just 1 pixel width. So
Beautiful. I
let's
love
go
how those are
back
looking.
here and like I have
I
a
love that you're not afraid to use color. You always come up with like the coolest color schemes, and it usually involves something bright that I might be too scared to use. And you're always like, you're just doing it, you know?
oh my gosh. It's funny because I have like my designs go from very colorful or just black and white. It's one or the other. There's nothing in the middle. It's yeah, on the both
Yeah.
ends. So let's see if I can select all this and just put everything. No, this is something that I would love Adobe Express to do is if it's like, if I wanted to color all this and they're all different
Oh, yeah.
elements in one color. So if you're listening, Adobe Express, please, please, please make that happen.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. So even this, can I group, if I group it, can I color it? No, I need to ungroup it.
And then you can adjust the color.
Just the color. TikTok.
We get it though. We get the idea. It's looking really good. So you're changing those from white to black.
Yeah. And all the text, I think I can all do the color at the same time. There you go.
Yes, you can.
So this would be, hold on, the final look.
There
Now
we
it's
go.
final.
Circle in spot.
Yes.
I think it looks amazing. We will switch over now just to my screen for our last I'd say 3 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this tops. We've spent the majority of today um, looking at media kits. And I want to show you guys the speaker one sheet. I'm going to put that on my screen right now. There's a spot to see your name, or rather, there's a spot to put your name. We've got a spot for 2 photos up at the top, and just basic elements for those of you that are wanting to do speaking engagements. So you'd want a bio. If you've got a testimonial, someone that said something nice about you, make sure you put that in here as well. Typically for conferences, it's similar to resumes. If you can keep this to 1 page, it's better. The world won't stop turning if it's 2 pages, but ideally you're condensing this into an easy to digest PDF for let's say an event organizer or a conference booker. I always like to have topics here. I've got an extra spot here that you can adjust this to whatever you want. It could be media links, for example. We could change this and call this press if we want and have some press links. And then contact information. Very, 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 very important that you have your contact information so that someone can get in touch with you. Remember that in Express, you can set up your brand here. So let me actually, I'm selected onto your brand, but if I go down to mine, using the assets, and actually, I've got a logo. In my case, I do have a logo that is my name. That's handy. I beat you to the personal branding thing a few years early, Izzy. There we go. I might even make that a little bit bigger.
That's totally okay, because you know what? It's not a race.
It's not a race. And then add-ons is one of my favorite, as we wrap up here in the last few minutes, add-ons is one of my favorite places to hang out and discover things. In Adobe Express, click over here to your add-ons where you can see the ones that you've used previously. Here is where I can think about, I put here featured client list. It could also be press. I was on CNN, truth be told, didn't know if you knew that,
No, I
Izzy,
didn't.
but I was quoted in CNN talking about Kylie Jenner. She had like a brand blunder. And I said, Kylie Jenner better put her big girl pants on. That's a literal quote of mine in CNN. Sometimes I think, maybe I should keep things in my head and not just say them out loud, especially to CNN. Oh, well, at least you know I know my brand, right?
I mean, now you can add their logo to your social proof. So there you
You better
go.
believe it. You better believe it.
Yes.
So that's an example of how we can use an add-on, specifically in this case, brand fetch enables you to quickly grab logos of media, conferences, anything that's a website. Even I think I'm in here. I think I'm in brand fetch. There you go. Even I'm in here. So it's just a really handy tool. Again, that's integrated in Express with a lot of other add-ons, friends. Social Previewers, one of my favorite. Mockup Studio, if you're creating visual branding. Color blindness test. Media Grab from graphics on websites. I'm literally just skimming the surface. The TikTok Creative Assistant is another one of my favorites. Even if I'm not just creating in TikTok, this is a great place that you can come, enter in some prompts, and get ideas for content. So easy, we've done it. I did this one very quickly, looking at our speaker one sheet. We spent the most time today creating a media kit. And friends, I think if there was one takeaway from today, I hope that it's you are not too small to be creating a media kit or creating a speaker one sheet. You are worthy of throwing your name in the hat for all these kinds of opportunities. And I can guarantee you from experience that brands are interested in working with people, real people like you. And so take advantage of these amazing templates that we've created for you that are linked in the description. We will be back again next week, Izzy, right? Next week, we're going to talk
Yes.
about presentations. And I believe we have one more show after that. We'll keep that topic a
Yes.
surprise. Have you enjoyed today? Let us know in the comments. Izzy, I've enjoyed hanging out with you. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness. It's my favorite time of the day. I said that at the beginning and I meant it.
Well, now you have a brand new media kit, a fancy, fancy media kit to go put yourself out there. And our friends who have watched the replay or hung out with us live will as well. Stay tuned, by the way. Keep hanging out with us today. And we will see you guys back next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Collabattle.
Bye, everyone.